Great. Okay. So welcome everyone. Welcome at the session of how to create your stakeholders map. Welcome Victoria. Welcome Johan. Welcome Maros, who is on the line with us today because of a Brussels blackout. He's connecting via his hand, like mobile phone, so we can't see him, but we can imagine his wonderful, excited face. I'm happy you are with us. And for those of you who couldn't be here with us or are late, sorry, we have to be on time for today. So anything you missed, you can watch, and anything you didn't miss because you were here. Maros, how are you? Just like a quick update for everyone, maybe also in terms of the topic we are going to speak today. If you've been experiencing any stakeholders mapping or something within past month, because you are in Brussels now, not in Germany, so that's maybe a new thing for you.
So yes, actually, I had a task to prepare a stakeholders analysis or stakeholders map for during my internship last week, but it was a rather small one where I was researching local stakeholders in the state of Saxony in Germany who might be interested in the work of our liaison office. So it was just researching about 100 names. Without any categories or like I wasn't really making a special order. It was just really looking for local firms and authorities.
And how did it go? Like, what is your, like, since you've done it, you can now see how was it for you? Because even if it was a task, you had to like search. So how it was this first phase of like whole stakeholder stuff for you, and if we speak, because I don't know how much Johan and how much Victoria are experienced with stakeholders. As I know them, they might be, but let's start from the bottom of the floor. So what was that you had to map when you were assigned to do some map of stakeholders? Like, and now you don't have to be theoretical, you can be very practical, definitely in terms of what you can share, because we don't want anything shared that can be shared. But if you should like share with someone, what were you really doing? How would you define that?
As I said, the task was not very precise. It was just a general research of potential people to address with our work. So what I was basically doing, I was looking for let's call it entities, because it was really different things. It was like regional networks, it was companies, it was local offices, administrations who had any kind of interest or might have some interest in European projects or would need some help in researching how European policies could concern them. So basically, I was looking for databases that had several of those entities, and then I looked them up, tried to match them with what we are doing, which is basically explaining or showing small, let's say, small local networks or authorities, how they could utilize European money to break it down in the federal state of Saxony. Mm-hmm. And eventually I came up with a list which was mostly like regional development, urban development, who were already...
Let's stop here for now, because that's another phase already where you came from. But when you started to approach India, you had some intention. And that was intention that you just shared, that really to have an intention to get money for the project. And then you were signing for the right people, which you created the big list of them. So if you, for example, were speaking to your granny, what is a stakeholder? How would you define it, like very easily? Because I got it, maybe every one of us got it, but what is that for you? And what it should be maybe for everyone else who even starts thinking with all what you've gone through, because you already like did a list, you had like some goal why you had to do that, but okay, if I don't have it, you know, imagine that there is someone who is watching this, and for example, Victoria doing her project, and she doesn't have any boss that tell her that tells her, okay, do that. She doesn't have any intention that there is like maybe a framework for a big project to do that, but she still needs some for whatever reason. And she will be said, okay, do the stakeholders map. So how would you advise her to do that, or anyone else? Like, in terms of like,
okay,
for you.
So to define stakeholder first, to make it very broad and very simple, I would say it's simply a person or an organization who might have a certain shared interest with you, or you have a shared interest with them, so they can provide you with knowledge, or you can provide them with something. So yeah, just like a person or organization you could establish a mutually beneficial relationship with.
And then maybe someone can ask, what is the difference when someone is a shareholder and someone is a stakeholder? Because you just shared that the person has to have a shared interest. And don't get me wrong, we are like creating this, but I think it's more interesting, have an interactive time together than just like downloading it from my perspective, downloading from yours. But really, if someone tells you, okay, this is a shareholder having a shared interest, and you say, no, it's my stakeholder. What's the difference you see there, Maros, for you? And this is for everyone who is watching us, of course.
Yeah, I see the point. That's tricky with my definition, I think. I mean, shareholder in general would be someone who has financial interest in what you do. Mm-hmm. The stakeholder must not be necessarily financially invested.
Yeah. And just also that person, it's coming from that he has something at stake. You know, whether a shareholder is just has a share, and you are very right, it's mostly within financial or maybe some non-financial, but maybe assets or derivatives income from taking the share from somewhere, as you said. But the stakeholder, as you said, had something at stake. And that's the beauty of that he can have something at stake. Why is he involving and why is he sharing, as you said, and I love it that you said it, and why he is sharing your interest?
Yeah, I would say, like you already explained it, because something for them is at stake. So there is, in the matter that you're pursuing, there is something of importance to them, be it knowledge or be it some values that they also want to support.
Mm-hmm. And when you see your research now, your practical research, we came to the place where you really went through the stuff that you have now some sectors, yes, that the people are working. You said agriculture, or what the industries you have now covered?
It was not a specific industry. It was like what they had in common was that it was some local projects or authorities. So on the level of cities or regional corporations.
That means what? That they were involved in the regional corporation, or they could be involved in your corporation? What is that? And now for you, this is not for video or entertain anyone. This is really for you. I'm just asking that to understand it, because now we are like interacting too. So I want to understand your map. So that industry was where they were coming from, or more what was your intention to involve them into?
Well, our interest was, or let me tell it from different perspective. Our office is a small office which is paid for by local authorities of the state of Saxony. So you always have the pressure to justify your existence, because it's a very expensive thing to maintain. So we have to provide added value to regional projects. That's why I was researching potential people we could cooperate with, and as I said, it could be something we could benefit from, but it could be also something the projects themselves could benefit from if they work together with us. So there were project teams that did regional development in terms of they had EU funds which were dispersed for cultural projects, social projects on a very, very small scale. So let's say a kindergarten project was supported, or school projects were supported, or museums, small regional museums were supported. So the industry itself was not clear. What the only thing that the things had in common, it was like it was local level, and potentially EU funds might be involved in their doings.
And what's next now for you? And now we can really speak about your now steps, because this should be the most practical and most out of use for you, Maros, and for everyone else who is watching. But I will really allow this session now to take it also for Maros' use, so we can learn from each other. And I have some theory ready for you, and we already started it, because the first step, as Maros said, well, is knowing that this person has something at stake and doesn't maybe want to have a share on it. He just has some interest, some idea, something that is important for her or him to be involved. That's the first step. So you identify this person. And as Maros said, it can be authorities, it can be businesses, but every time, for everyone who is doing on any project, it is aligned with what you are working on. So it should be some concrete project, or it should be some concrete intention. It was previously, as Maros said, the kindergarten projects. Now they might have another project. And based on this, you already start thinking, okay, who are the people who can have something at stake? And then we move to the second phase, which also Maros has described, and this is the stakeholders mapping. So as you said, Maros, you were like really thinking about who is who and how do they work. Now I'm coming to the third phase, and this is now I'm like to ask you maybe if it's practical more for you. And now when you have these people mapped, so you have a great sheet in your computer or wherever, what are you going to do now? And this is like really take it practical now. We are not playing any like role play. And also for everyone else who's watching, this is not a role play like we played it before and now we are giving a guidance. No, this should be practical. So just taking it from some outlines that I've done on this topic. But really, let's take it from the grassroots where you are now, Maros. So when you have mapped them, what's the next step for you now? You want to do, or you have to do, or how do you see it? What you would like to do, and you would like to know what to do with them.
Well, what I will do first is yes, think of some categories, because as I said, the assignment itself was very broad. So I think I'll come up with own kind of categorize the stakeholders I have mapped or I have researched, and also look if they are really going to be interested in the cooperation with us. So maybe look up if they have enough capacities, if they maybe have a international officer or EU project officer, or just look at their organization if there is potential. If there are real potentials for cooperation.
And how you
what's going to be? Yes. Sorry?
How will you do that?
Yeah, that's a question. I'm not sure about that yet. I'm not sure about that.
That's exactly the second part you do, and many lobbies do. When you work in a public consultancy and you have a lobbies, you also work with stakeholders. And this is a second phase, or I would say third phase already, and that's stakeholders assessment. So it's not rocket science, but when you don't know what you do, you start assessing them. So you start basically, what's assessment of people?
Yeah.
So this is exactly what you do with your stakeholders.
And how do I do it?
How do you think you would do that? Tell me first, because it should be for you. So imagine now you have these people. Let's pick up one or two you have on your mind. And how would you do that?
Well, I saw some differences between their organizational structure. As I said, there were organizations that had a special contact person for international affairs, and there were some organizations that didn't have that. So I think those who have a, let's call it international division, might be more open-minded to really cooperate with us. So there might be actually people who take the time to listen to what we do and really search for some organizational slack to cooperate with us. That would be maybe the first thing to do. Yeah, and after that, of course, I would also look at the things they work with, the topics they work on. First to categorize it, and then maybe to just to know who could we approach depending on the projects we are currently working on. For example, right now, digitization of public administrations is a big topic. So I would have a category of, let's say, digital organizations or IT organizations, just for this project, which has nothing to do with stakeholder mapping itself, but like the stakeholder map or the list of stakeholders can be used for it.
And it's also good to know for you that it is really like when you now already know, you can start also assessing them, which means like you really start talking with them to know if they really. And this is a magic that many people do. And I wouldn't say only lobbying, but in citizen activism everywhere. You start speaking with maybe lower level people. It's not a rocket science again, I know. And I know this whole session is not a rocket science, so don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to share what I've experienced in stakeholders and a little bit of theory, let's say. By the way, there is a tons of YouTube videos on stakeholders. So if you are interested into spending a lot of time around your YouTube, do that, because there are tons of that. I will maybe then pick up some of that inspired me, but you know, creating a map, you can do that in every way. But then the other phase to have the map, and as you, Maros, said, you can do that as a stakeholders map in an Excel sheet. You can make it's so-called a mind map. Have you ever heard about mind map?
Yeah.
Yeah, so mind map for everyone, that's great. You know, I love mind map, especially when you don't speak about people, but when you will have an organization, the organization's involved into yours. For example, this is your case, Maros, as well. You won't have only specific people, but you will have organizations. So sometimes then it's easier to pick up. And of course, you can do it in an Excel sheet, in spreadsheet, in wherever numbers, pages. But this mind map is easier to think about, okay, under that bubble, there are people from commission. As you said, under that bubble, there are investors who invest into children's future. So then it's easier for you. And then we come to these assessing people. So you can really think, what are the people who you could approach? And in the beginning, it's good practice maybe to think about 5. It's the same way like in fundraising, but with fundraising, you very often ask for their time or money or some other contact. In terms of stakeholders, you just want to know, assessing them, whether they are interested. So you can think about few people in the beginning who are from these specific organizations, as you said. And what is now the project is still this European project, or what is like, tell me like 1 or 2 stakeholders. You don't have to name them like with names, but organizations. So let's be concrete.
So it's
if you can. If can't, I can stop recording. I can pause recording if it's.
Oh no, it's not top secret or something. It's publicly transparent what we're doing. So it would be IT companies.
IT,
but,
yes.
but small scale IT companies. And or it's hard to pick one because or it's hard to think of one that I have
try to think about
deep knowledge of.
What did you say?
Like I can't recall an organization which I have assessed very closely.
But besides IT companies, who else is there for you? I mean, in the bubble. Let's just be this general.
Okay, yeah, so besides the companies, there is the state government.
Mm-hmm. State or
like, sorry?
State or government?
The government of the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of Brussels
And,
or something else?
No, it's of Saxony.
Okay.
And yeah, the local authorities, so mayors.
That's great. Mayors of the small towns and cities in Saxony. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. That's amazing. So that's already like free. Know the people you want to approach. So you could think of maybe, you can think of one company, you can think of one person in the government that is the most important for you. Can you hear me, Maroš?
Yeah.
Great, because it's seeming like connection is unstable, but I'm at home. So if ever time you have dropped you out, let me know. So can you think about, no, you don't have to tell it, but can you think about one company you could immediately name? You don't name it, you just for yourself or writing down.
Yes, I could.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you think about one government department or office that you would have in your mind?
Yes.
Okay, write down. And can you think of one name of one local authority?
Yeah.
Great. If you have them, how would you start assessing them?
Okay, so first I would look at the projects they have already done. So if there is maybe something already obvious from that, from the past. And yes.
And if it's
after that, yeah.
If it's a fit, if they have everything, I mean, like aligned with what you do, what would you do next?
If they have, sorry?
If they are fine, I mean, like if they are aligned with what are you searching for? You said you would check it, and that's perfect. You would check it, and now imagine that these 3 people, I would call them all people, 3 people have everything like done that is aligned with what you want to do. Yeah. So what would you do next?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Just share. What do you think you would do?
Maybe probably already approach them in a personal conversation, be it via phone or via mail.
Exactly. It's always good to, and that's a good practice that we sometimes, with assessing people and really understanding if they play the key role in our project or not, like the second phase of stakeholders map, it's very good to not to speak directly to the boss of the company or maybe to the ministry, or to the mayor. And you might know it, but maybe not. It's very good to speak to people who are either their secretaries or they work closely with them and they are close ADs, or with the government and the local authorities. I call them staffers. In American politics, if you want to reach someone, you really have to be close ally with a staffer. And staffer is someone who is the closest person to the member of the Congress, for example. So this is great advice if you are in American capital. If you are in Brussels, it's the same. If you are reaching to the people who are on the high levels of European bureaucracy, not maybe members of the parliament, you also need to be good in a good relationship with anyone from the cabinet. Or in the government, someone who is a close AD. And you can very often find these people also on the web pages, or you can just call into this office and ask if you have a mandate for it. And then you can have a coffee if you are also in a mandate to do this, or you can have an informal meeting or just an informal call, you'll see. I maybe would avoid an email because you can still refer to an email after the call. It's like a cold call. And then you say, okay, send me something more. So you can send something, but it's already according, referring to our conversation or following our conversation, I'm sending something. And And it's completely different relationship you start building than just sending an email. And please don't send like a group emails. Avoid group emails, and avoid also any mail outs and any emoticons, any big videos, any files that are not readable. And sometimes if you want to have a good attention to something you want to send to your, we also call it constituent, you know, if you are running for a campaign, I say it from my experience, also in US, also in Europe, when I was running in a campaign in my tiny district, those were my constituents. So I had to send them everything in person because of course it was a small town. But when I was working for US Steel company in DC, in Washington, and we wanted to get to the people in the Congress who were highly impacting the laws in a financial, it calls them Ways and Means Committee, that is the highest committee approving the budget. We needed to speak firstly to the people who are working with them and who are staffers. So every time I approached anyone like this, the format of the things after the call, after the personal conversation, and it might be maybe a quick 20 minutes coffee, was in very readable, affordable format. So this is also good to send, not to send the big emails, but like really be short and really like to the points. Some people like one pagers, some people like 3-4 bullet points, some people love presentations, but the way you assess them is also, you can really see it once you talk to them, you know, better, or once you see if they have a really serious interest.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to really go into different explanations. Sometimes it can be few points. Okay, send me the scroll it on my mobile phone down to the work, and that's it. You have their attention. Or on the other side, that's when you want to have attention. But sometimes the point with stakeholders assessment, especially also in your case, and also if you maybe will be working for a lobbying company or for a consultancy company, you don't have to strive an interest on you. You have to assess them if they are enough, reliable enough, or good enough for you. Not if you are good enough for them, but if they are good enough for you. So this is also the magic of stakeholders assessment. It doesn't have to be always that you need something from them, because you are working on something on the project and they will, you know, like I would say, like they will just jump into as the fish into the water because they want it. And again, as you said, you want to have the reliable ones. You want to have the most suitable ones. So you can always strategize before you drop any call, before you drop any email. Okay, where I am in this relationship. Okay, from these ones, I want to have a financial donor, but again, I want to verify them if they are proven or not. But from these ones, when I was working in one lobbying agency, I was not doing an assessment, but I was doing a mapping, and I clearly saw that the next phase of that, it was a defense. And hi, Ivan. It was a defense sector, and I really knew that we need to avoid some companies as well that even won't be the stakeholders in our case, but they definitely will be interested because they will get into the final competition with us. So just to give you a perspective on ours, this could be also the case. You will assess, like by the assessment of any company. They judge people also. I don't like using the word judge, but you know, there is assessing if it's right or not, good or not.
I can't quite understand you.
You get it? I mean, like, you can't understand me. What can you understand me?
I don't understand you. There is a lot of noise.
Yeah, what didn't you understand? You and I had to mute you a little bit because there was a noise. But anytime you want to say something, please unmute yourself. Yeah, and Maros, what did you hear as the second thing? What did you hear the last thing? Sorry.
When you said that companies judge people based on,
based on I compared. I make an analogy that it's the same as when you apply for a job and you have an assessment, and people watch you how you behave. You know.
Yeah.
And it's the same you can do when you are trying to do your stakeholders assessment. Also verify and qualify people and companies and organizations that would be, you know, that would be somehow available or convenient for you or not.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Hi, Johan. We are happy you are here with us. Anytime you can drop into the call if you have questions or something. We just had to mute you because there's a lot of noise behind you. But anytime you need to say something or you want to ask, please unmute yourself. We are here and it's happy to see. It's great to see you. And we are since just now spending a time on a second phase of stakeholders, which is a stakeholders assessment with Maros and with his project. So when you will have any questions.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll keep it mute because.
Yeah, but when you want to say something, you can't be mute. You can say something and then you can mute yourself. So we can interact with you. So yeah, so this is an assessment, Maros, and I hope, are you here?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay. Great. So this is maybe the difference. Also, many people also don't do. And there is then the other phase that is like the final phase, or maybe there are more phases, but I would say that this is a stakeholders management. So once you have them on your map, once you have them on really like where they are, you can now start managing them, and you can start having different relationship with different people. So when we take, Maros, now your 3 stakeholders. So one is from IT company, one is from the government, and one is from local authorities. What have you got so far? And this is also, Johan, for you. If you want to engage anyhow, you can, even with camera without. But what do you see when we speak about, okay, assessing these people if they are ready for the project? What do you see so far, Maros?
I didn't approach the people personally yet, or even via email. So I think right now it would need to start to approach the people personally. Maybe yeah, when it comes down to mayors, just call the offices and try to communicate with them. But I think this is something my boss will start to do, just to have a better title. And she mostly, or she already knows some of the people working there. Mm-hmm. Yes, so I think that is going to be the next step as soon as we know which, how should I say it? As soon as we are more specific about what we want to do on digitalization, we should start to approach them personally. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the second. That's really the phase where you will have to be clear before you go to any assessment. You have to be clear that these are the instructions. And also, it's a very good tip. And maybe it's good. We have also Johan here from politics who has to do maybe some stakeholders for his deputy. It's also good to know who is maybe in competition with you or who could be your opponent. What happened to me when I was working for this lobbying company, and I firstly just had to like research on this defense. We were about to be considered to be the biggest contractor for one British big company that should really make a contract with us and then with Ministry of Defense. I don't want to speak about countries. Let's don't speak about countries here. And the first warning, and I knew some people who are already around the defense and who could be potentially involved. And also I knew some of my friends who were shadowing ministers in those times for defense. And I put them on the list on different categories. And then I remember I sat down with my managing director and she was like, you know, we have to be very aware who we are approaching. And I was like, yeah, but just, you know, they are my friends. And she said, that's amazing. So you can either get an info from them over the coffee, it's great, or we have to avoid them because they will be definitely contracted by the different company that we are in the final round. And that was for me a great eye-opener that if now from any moment onwards, I would be up to any assessment, even with that friend of mine who used to be a shadow minister for defense. I would be very careful what are their interests, and how we are going to really pose ourselves in the other rounds of that, in the second and third round with the company. Because if you are working also, and now you mentioned IT companies, Maros, for Johan, you were not here, like this is one of the Maros stakeholders as well, that he needs to approach, and we are trying to reach how he will assess them, because that's completely different situation than with the government and local authorities, of course. But when you are doing the work for any company, Maros, or you might be in the future, you will be maybe also on the side of getting that business or not. And then you will have to be very, very clear and very careful if you got that contract from the third party that always can come in your assessment with others, And I mean concretely, you will be on one side getting the people to the project. There will be let's say the IT company that you want to get, but maybe there will be another similar contractor, let's say this way, that also want to get that IT company. So you can imagine a triangle, you can't see that, but like a triangle, of three actors fighting for one, actually, two fighting for one. Can you imagine? And that's also a case where you have to make a good assessment, because sometimes you might be in a competition with others, and you also might know who is that one, especially with the big brands, with the big funding, but also with the private money. And then it also happens that, okay, let's assess them, let's see what they work on, and then let's move on. Is it valuable, or has it been valuable so far? I don't know. I have some other things to do, but like maybe tell me and what do you see from now? If you have any questions, then we can go to management, then we can go to other relationships.
Yes, so far it has helped me to get a clear structure behind stakeholders mapping. So it's certainly valuable for me. But yeah, I would be happy if we moved on, because for my project, where I'm standing, I can't talk to you about something more practical. So we can move on with your content.
And Johan, are you at the point you want to share something with us in terms of like your stakeholders or anyone you need help with this phase, or you are working on? It doesn't have to be, but like definitely you are working in a politics as well, so you might have some skills or either experience or either something you want to like maybe talk about, if you have.
Yeah, if you could just briefly repeat what you mean by mapping of stakeholders. What does mapping and stakeholders means to you, and maybe the title of the first phase and the title of the second phase, that would help me join, en route.
Yeah, the first thing we saw, then I will be very briefly because we went through that with Maros, but the first thing is like really to map the person who has something at stake, so who is not a shareholder in your company or in your project, but it was really something at stake. So you want something. It could be, I don't know, your constituents for your French politician, or those could be people you have in different countries. You have to travel and map them. So you really have to know who might have an interest, who might be at stake at something, at some point. And then so it's the stakeholders mapping. I can write it down here, and you can also find when you go to recording. And then we have a stakeholders assessment, which is the second phase after you have a map. Stakeholders assessment, sorry for this sticking, assessment, which is the second phase. Once and Maros shared about his experience, once you have a map, for example, and you can do it in a mind map, you can do it in an Excel sheet, anything, where you put the names or the organizations of the people that you think that might be interested in what you do, or any project, or maybe even constituents for your member of the parliament, because they all have something at stake.
So if I've correctly understood you, Andrea, the mapping, stakeholders mapping and assessment and everything, it's not something you renew from start each time you have a new project. It's something you have permanently for your functions, for your job, and you just use it
That's a great point, and it's good you are raising it, because for Maros, it might be different people for different projects, because he is working on different projects. But for you, as you work for one politician, deputy in French Assemblée Nationale, you know what are his scope of activities, and you know also what are your countries that you have to travel and talk to people. Your stakeholders are firstly very much different than maybe Maros, but they might be more the same ones. Because the scope of your work is more predictable and is more clear because of the mandate that your deputy has, and also because of the activities you pursue than Maros. Because Maros is now working in Brussels at a representation of his federal state, doing many projects, but he might be moving on also with his studies in doing different activities. So he will be searching for different categories of stakeholders. Whether in your case, as you have to manage the countries and you have to work on different projects, there might be more stable. And maybe more similar one for the projects, for the project. The way maybe where they differ, and that's what we discussed with Maros, is the second phase, which is the stakeholders assessment. Because it's the way you approach them, the way also you assess them, whether this organization or this person or anyone that is involved in the conversation is valuable or can have something at stake. So it's different how you assess people who might give you money, and you might be assessing, as Maros said, whether they are credible for your project, whether they've been involved already in any kind of the project, whether they maybe are not defrauded somehow, etc., etc. But maybe in your case, it can be whether they have supported any other politician, or whether they are involved into cooperation with other organizations. You know, like for example, you are in Poland, so you have to manage the organizations around Poland, and you might need to know whether they are involved maybe in other grants, other collaborations. And you might then see if they are like a fit, or if they are suitable for any of your project, if they have something at stake, for example, to be involved in any collaboration with you. Because of people you need, but also there might be people or companies or organizations that might need you.
You know, if I may, Andrea, my experience is that since it's a member of parliament, it's very, very institutional. Mm-hmm. And so there are people we have to be in contact with because of institutional reasons. And it doesn't matter really if we get along or not, because we have to. And there are people we are only in contact with them because of their personal involvement, because they like that type of politics, because they like that subject, because they want to do something. And the big thing is the gray zone, and this is the most sensitive place to map, is there are institutions that we could work with, we don't have, that we could work with if the people are interested or engaged, and there's a gray zone like that, which is not all the things you must do in that case as a member of parliament, but which he would like to do because this is part of his ideas, his projects, and so on. So I think here that could be the most useful, because otherwise there's a layer we have to be in contact with as good as possible, and a layer that only an interested citizen could engage with us.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Please,
do you have any classification you use for them? And that's also interesting for maybe for both of us with Maros, because we have different approach. We are not like have to do with everyone. So do you have any classification you work with them, or how do you do that? When you need to assess those you need, not those you have to, but those you need.
Oh, it's very easy, because this is politics. So everybody who is politically or constitutionally above is somebody we have to have good relations with.
Yeah.
And that's it. If they are of the same party, you know. And everybody who is below is somebody that we could be involved with this person if they are interesting and if we have mutual interest in doing something together. But the other thing, more or less on the same level, or other countries same level, this is the gray zone where then you have to meet the people and see if we can work together closely or not.
Maros, do you have any comments on Ioan, or are you curious about something? Because this is like still the same phase.
I'm not sure if I understood it quite correctly because the signal is a bit breaking down. So yeah, no comments from me at the moment.
I will have one, and that's like when you think, because that's one thing you said is like your politician, your deputy, and the context that has to be maintained. But then you are in different countries, because we know you really travel to Poland, to CE region, and you have to manage the relationships there. And they are also obligatory, some of them, but some of them are really that you have to assess them, whether they are right or wrong. So can you think of someone like this from any countries you live or you travel that is important for you to know, and you experienced maybe this kind of assessment with them, that, okay, you met them, you need to conversate with them, had a conversation with them, you know, that you had to develop this relationship?
Well, there are different fields. There's politics, there's economy, there's civil society. But if we just keep the political field to make things simple, I mean, I have to know all the heads of state of the countries where I'm in, and sometimes ministers, and I have to. And if we have relations, we have to have good relations with them. Can you hear me? But and below, for citizens or just some politically engaged people who are not who have not responsibilities in a big party, then it's if we find them interesting, and then we can work together. But for all the people who are at the level of ambassadors, embassy people, all the members of foreign parliaments, members of your parliaments, it's good to have always good relations with them, but it will only depend if we see we can work together on something, then we will do it. If not, not. And for that, you have to meet them somehow. There's no other possibility. Yeah.
But that's great you are saying. I hope, Maros, you got something, because it's exactly, you see how different the assessment of stakeholders can be if you, for example, have a mandate, as Johan has, or if you have a very strictly given rules. See, that's completely different way of doing that. And it's great he brought it, because you might be in different levels. Now he is much more stable in his political role. And see, you approach the stakeholders differently, and you also assess them differently. Firstly, because of a mandate, but also, for example, in comparison with your local authorities, you don't have to be being his position in a parliament as an assistant to deputy of Assemblée Nationale. He doesn't have to be so careful, maybe, because he knows that some of the contacts are well established. Whether in your case, for example, you will be working also on your own projects at Germany as well, you will be very careful who you assess and how would you communicate with them.
Yeah, I see a difference. Yeah.
And then it will really come easily to the phase of stakeholders management. So that's also good. You are Bob on the line, so you can maybe give the examples. Management. You can give the examples. Like, how do you manage your stakeholders? And really, we can start with one. And with Maros, you can also think, how will you manage? Because this process is easy. Once you assess that, okay, I work with this one, or I need to work with this one, you need to manage them somehow. And it's not only about getting money. It's really about what is their stake, why they are working with you. It's only because of money. It's only because of great position on the market. This is also the case sometimes. But with both of you, it's not the case, you know. My stakeholders were also doing Global Academy or doing the YPE in the past. Those never been people who wanted better position on the market. For example, for them, it was having at stake that they wanted to do something better for conscious politics in our country. And that's why they interacted. Maros, what do you see, or Johan, whatever, what do you see, where is your management coming from? Like, how do you have to manage them? What they can have at stake to be in touch with you and to really be your stakeholder? Because that's the first precipitation. Once I managing someone as a stakeholder, he has to have a willingness, or she has to have a willingness to be in that relationship with me. So how would you manage it? And also, what would that person have in relationship with me or at stake? Can you see one thing? That why do they collaborate with me? Why they are my stakeholders? Marosh?
Yeah. Do you want to start? I think
I'm asking.
you can contribute more.
Now I didn't get you. Now I didn't get the last word from you.
I want to ask Johan to start because I think he can. He can just contribute more to the management part.
Johan, so you can share with us your experience if you are here. We can't hear you. You are muted. You are muted. Unmute. Okay. Yeah.
If I understand well, a stakeholder is somebody that is involved, has an influential position in an area that we want to work in. Somebody we want to work with, or we have to work against, maybe.
So can you yeah?
Assessing stakeholders.
No, about management. We are now.
I mean, assessing stakeholders. Yeah, assessing and managing them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything I'm doing actually.
So can you share with us one
doing
example?
All the time, cultivating contacts, relations. Oh, it's like every day.
Yeah. So we want to ask you if you can share with us how do you do that, for example, because for Marosh this is very beneficial. This is very valuable because he is about to manage them once you already do that as your everyday job. So if you think of one stakeholder you manage, how do you do that? Like how the year of the collaboration looks like that you manage them. What do? You go for cafes, you do some evaluations. What do you do? Can you hear us, Johan?
Well, it depends. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, choose one. It's fine for us. Choose one that you don't have to name her or him, but how do you manage it? What is that? Because there are some things that are like similar for everyone, but there are things that are like very unique for your stakeholders. So what do you do, for example?
I don't know. Let's say that we have, I don't know, let's invent an area. Let's say sport politics and whatever. I don't know if it exists. If it's very important for the politician, in that case, sport politics. In that case, if the person is above you, the sport minister, in that case in France, we have to be visible to that person above us, those people above us, their advisors, ministers, and so on, and provide them with the best possible content in the shortest time, and always provide them with good stuff that they will see and that they will want to meet us again, and so on. If it's people like below us, like people doing sport and so on, then we have to keep good contact with them, but without spending too much time on it, because we can't spend too much time on every individual issue. But so we have to be open to show that we know them, to meet them, but not to spend too much time. And for all the people who are on the same level as us, institutionally or in foreign countries, or with big responsibilities, I say in sport, in any other area, then we have to see if we can work together, and if we work together, to follow the projects. And we invite them somewhere, they invite us somewhere. We should also give some gifts, but my boss is not good at doing it, so he doesn't do it. But it could be good to give some, not corruption, but some small, nice things when you travel, when you come from other countries.
You mean like the presents?
Something we should do.
What do you mean, like the presents, or what do you mean
by
the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like you're in a foreign country, you give something from France, a small thing. Oh, that's nice. We're not doing this well enough, but seeing if that person has interests in something we can help, send an email to another contact, and then the idea is to be invited and to make sure that those people are invited to things that we care about, so that there is a flow. Even if it's a subject not that important, it will be once, twice a year. It's very important. We will try to do it every month. I don't know if it's clear. It's very abstract as I'm talking.
Marosh, did you get something of that? Even if it was maybe a noisy background, like did you get something of? Thank you, Johan. Merci.
Yeah, I got a bit. So if I understand it correctly, it's about you're trying to to repeatedly approach the people even if there is not a current project you want them to work with you on? Would that be correct?
Yeah. Usually we approach them either because institutionally we have to, or because we already have projects. Discussed in our team before. We have projects or general ideas or subjects that we want to deal with, and then we see with the stakeholders what projects in practice can emerge. But like we have areas that we want to foster, we cannot do everything, so we have to choose certain areas. Yeah, like I took the example, it could be sport policy, but it could be whatever, defense, agriculture, whatever. Any other topics.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Thanks, you shared it. And Maros, do you have any other comments, please? If you, because this is great. Like this is exactly how it looks like, because you really exchange the different worlds on one topic. So you can go on. Like we have a few minutes extra. So if you have any other like questions or comments.
No. Concerning the stakeholder management, I really don't have comments because I have no experience with it. So yeah, thank you for sharing your approach with me because I think it helps me a lot.
And Maros, also like Johan knows, but anytime it's very much about like if you are not in a big company that has like a budget for everything and can really like maintain the contact just because of the brand, it's also a lot about relationships, because these stakeholders very often come to the space because of the good relationships you have with the people. Mm-hmm. That's very important, especially if you start or if you do your own enterprise, if you run your own organization or your own department, and you have to make your name visible. It's about the relationships you have with the people at any single unit. And you can definitely like add anything you want. Also, you run from the politics. So because we were speaking previously about staffers and how you go through the levels of ministry and everything, like step by step, contacting maybe the person that is the lowest one and going further. So this was the conversation we had with Maros in the beginning. But it's very, it's very important to just to see that you build the relationships with these people. And it's every time they see or share your project, your vision, or just sometimes what I've experienced many often, and I think it's because I'm a woman also, that's great. Sometimes it really helps. In terms of like building the relationships differently, and it's great. And also you are a man and you have different energy in this, which is also great. And also because I really like valued people I worked with, or they were somehow because they wanted to be a part of it. So we also like created the good relationships based on my interest. How are they doing? Like this, this simple stuff. As Johan said about souvenirs, which is also very nice for some people, but it might be only an email, how the person is going. Or it might be mainly only a meeting once per year, or bringing, as I like what Johan said about the tours and tips, also like just bring maybe something you like, or maybe sending him a greeting, how is he doing? Because this is something that it's not only a prophecy of oh wow, I want to be polite. When it's very honest, people feel it.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead, please.
I just have a small comment, because now when we talk about it, I know one person. He's a CEO of a HR company, but he's also doing some research in energy politics on the side. And sometimes he asks me to translate or to just look over some of his texts because he's not an academic. So he wants to have like a second opinion. And now when I think about it, it's like he really maintains a good relationship with me, because it's not big things I do for him. It's not about a lot of money. It's always like 50 or 60 euro. It's not a lot, but we always go and we have a coffee. We talk for 2 hours. We talk about a lot of things. So it's always pleasant to talk to him. And at first it was a bit strange for me, because I thought it wasn't that important what I do, but it made me feel kind of appreciated. And I keep working with him for a long time now. So I see maybe from a bit different, like from the perspective of the receiver of the relationship building. But now I have another example of that.
Exactly. And that's the relationship you should really protect. Every single one of like also as Johan said, like these are the things that the people value, because they don't value your position only. They don't value only the mandate you have, because mandate is there and is gone. They value who you are. And this is, you can join, Johan. Tell us.
I think sometimes they value the mandate.
Yeah, that's the point. But that's maybe the difference once you are effective at your work and once you are effective also as a human being. And I completely agree. They sometimes just value the mandate and money. We see it in American politics. Not many people value Trump as the person, but the billionaires from Walmart love spending his money on his allowances or oil industry. So of course you are right. This is something that Maros also you can be aware of, because once you will be maybe placed permanently in Brussels, you will have completely different listening, and people will have different listening to you because you are from Brussels. You are from representation. And I have to be sorry to say, but it's like that when we have that we belong somewhere that has a bigger name, or Johan as well, we also can use it very well to make a big difference with that, because people have different listening. Of course, if someone says that you are from French National Assembly or you are from a Brussels representation of federal state, people listen differently, of course. But there are two things. One, that what you decide to do with that, how will you use it, the mandate, and if you use it, great, and you make a difference, thanks, perfect. But still not at least forgetting in the end of the day to think, okay, if I lose it somehow, if we lose it in the elections, or if, I don't know, if I will change the work, or if I want to do something on my own, I don't know what else, who am I in that? And how these people value me. And it's good to think about it. In the meantime, you have this mandate. Because, for example, I've been doing my own business for many years, and I made my own identity. Who am I? Thanks to that, and thanks to all of the things you are here. Like, we are working out that together. And I also got an opportunity, and have recently got an opportunity to work also in Prague in a big company. It's called Asahi Breweries Europe, which is a company about Asahi breweries working on corporate and business relationships and politics. It's great because I work on sustainable development goals. It's a part of my job time. It's contracted work. And it's a Asahi. Everyone knows the beers and everyone knows what's going on. And I'm very grateful I have this opportunity. But you can also see that people know what the brand you are representing, and they have different listening. And when I talk to them, they always ask me, what do you do? And I tell them what I do, not in the company only, but really what I do as myself. Because it's a contracted job, so I can also speak about what I do in the other time than at work. And then I also speak about what I do at this work. And it's always good if you maintain the passion for what you are up to, even if you are many years involved in the job. Because what I meet in these people, and it's great to see, if they've been there for 20, 30 years, they automatically start speaking about their job, really what they do. And it's great, but they are so much into that. We manufacture, or someone is, marketing, so blah, 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 it's marketing, and they go on. And and when I was in Brussels, the same. When I said I'm in the European Parliament, everyone knew. It's very recognizable. When I said I was in US Steel Company in Washington, D.C., everyone knew. It was easy. When I said I was in Grayling, a lobbying company, everyone knows because it's worldwide. And it's great because you can make a big difference in managing stakeholders when you already can talk to them from the mandate you have. Just always, you also can understand and think, okay, sometimes when it's this gone, or maybe it's changed, or we lose in the elections next year, next time, what will gonna happen? And this doesn't have to scare you. It's maybe that these people will stay with you because they like you who you are. And their mandate is the second thing. And this is also, maybe you've seen many people who've been 20, 30, 50 years in one corporation. And you might be asking, why freaking hell you've been there for 30 years? Because it's like a gold cage as well, because you have a status that everyone recognizes. And when you leave it, suddenly no one knows who you are, because there is no status anymore. And still, you can have all these stakeholders because you made like a personal relationship with them. And then it makes it work. Like I remember when we were, and that may be last sharing, I don't want to talk that much for but when management, like our board chair of the board for many years has been the CEO of Adidas Group for Central Europe and East. And he helped us to run the programs in Switzerland, and he was the chair of the board. So we've gone through 7 years of intense collaboration, and he really learned us how to understand spreadsheets, you know, how to do the cash flow, saldo scenarios, like seriously business stuff. And it was fantastic. But the relationship we built together, two of us, was very personal in a good way. Like I really considered him not only as my mentor, as my chair of the board, as blah, blah, blah. It was a friend of mine. And when we finished this life of 7 years of business, and when he stepped down as the chair of the board, and he also changed the company, he's at a different company now, the people started reacting differently to him. And I don't want to say they left him, but when I approach him now, and I try to befriend, because that's what he like has remained for me, even being that high super CEO on every conference, he's sometimes struggling with that approach. And he still loves to be in touch. He told me last week, like, you know, I'm so glad you called me, because I was like, oh, she's calling. And it was, we haven't been in business touch for 2 years, but there is something in that. Still, there is a problem of these like old CEOs that they cannot maybe sometimes get up behind that shadow of not being that CEO anymore, of not being that mentor anymore. But the relationship is there, and you know you can maybe get to that person or to other people, because they know that you treat them as friends or as partners or as your stakeholders, because they have always something at stake. What Mara said in the beginning, they share your vision for something. And the ways you can manage them, Maraj, are very different. Like as Johan said, meeting them, you can have coffees, you can have some evaluations. If they are also on your boards or, you know, in your management, you can also have like some evaluation periods, reviews. You know, you can prepare some sheets if they are on the board. So it really depends what the role they are playing. So this is not the rocket science. Like management should be smooth. You should be transparent to them. That would be my advice very often. And you should always maintain and thinking like, okay, this person, I want to be in touch even after 20 years. Maybe not business-wise, maybe not financial-wise, maybe not donor-wise, just because he's been sharing my passion. And if you see that person has unplugged because he has gone somewhere, it's fine. But you can still think, okay, I can call you. So you manage them in the terms how much they are involved, and you can manage them, of course, professionally in terms of spreadsheets, updates, reports, status meetings, you know, status calls. But also you can approach them personally if you have a mandate for that. I also did many mistakes with stakeholders when I was working in the parliament. I was approaching them and I didn't have a mandate for it. So this was also wrong. So don't do that this way. But, you know, coming out from what I've been doing, I've never been in a big institution for many years. So I don't know this case. That's why I stepped out of it for a year now. But it's also a good experience. So Johan is a great experience and an example of institutionalized person that also has to follow some rules, as you shared. With you, Maroš, now you are an institution as well, but you might be maybe having another role, another leading role in there, you know, which is completely different than maybe people who are just in their specific roles or specific positions. Okay, so this would be maybe it for now. This is not the last session, the first and last. I wanted to keep it more shorter and maybe go not about everything, because there's a lot we can speak. But I would like to maybe know, because we have a few minutes to end, maybe what is your takeaway, or maybe what would you like to know more for next session? And yeah, what do you take out of it? Or any questions, any comments, anything?
Yes, for me, it was very helpful to get a clearer picture on how to formalize stakeholder mapping and like how to conceptualize what I was basically doing into clear steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it will certainly help me in the next few weeks when I will have to approach some people in person. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Marusz. Thank you. Jan, is there anything you wanna share? And just like, of course, it's
yeah, no, I'm open to anything you want to give us for the next time. So there'll be another video on that subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I also felt like you said that the most interesting and the risky part of the stakeholder thing is that sometimes you have to work with somebody on the subject and you are friends, co-workers, and sometimes they may become competitors on a different project, or on the same project when it advances more and more, and then you are competitors. And this is the interesting part, I think. Another thing in stakeholders management, I mean relations you have with other people than your team at work, is for me, it's always good to have good relations and excellent relations with everybody outside, just everybody, just in case. But what I saw is that sometimes if people want to have too good relations with people, they say yes to everybody, but people between them sometimes don't like each other. So you can't say, you know, white here, black here. You can't promise everybody everything. But this is a thing, like usually a problem comes, even if you have good relations with everybody, they don't have good relations between each other, and that's another subject. Sometimes on purpose, I don't get into too much details with somebody, or I don't give them too much information because they would feel in trouble with other people with that. So that's also interesting. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share.
That's a great point, exactly. You have to be very careful, and it's mostly in a phase of assessing and also managing, because you never know who knows who. In the world is very small. Like, it's really like research that you can get to anyone to maximum through 6 people in the world. You can get to anyone you want. It's not about time, it's about people. It's about 6 people in the world you need to get through to get to the person, to any contact in the world these days. Maximum. So exactly as you said, you have to be careful with the information. I totally agree. And you can also, we call it, I'm not an expert on this, but you can ask Wendy, who is an expert on landmark, coach, and I will coach, like dancing the conversation when you speak to someone, and you want to be also very clear what you are sharing and when you are sharing it. So I totally agree. Thanks, you pointed out, Johan. This is good also for Maroš and for Victoria, who is watching us, to really keep in mind. Like, really dance, listen more. And with stakeholders, sometimes listen is more than talk, because then you can tune into what they are expecting. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I would finish by saying that sometimes you cannot have excellent relations with everybody because, you know, people are people, I have emotions, but as part of the assessment, it's good to know with whom it's okay not to have bad relations or not to have good relations, even if it's not your fault, and with whom you have to have. This is the main.
Yeah, we lost you, but we heard like this is the main thing. All right, so this will be in your platform, so you can always have an access to the video, and we will see each other next week. You won't see me, you will see Lucia from European Parliament, European Commission, sorry, who was running for European Parliament. And if you have any questions or anything, post them. I would be happy if you can post them into the group, in the Facebook group, so people can start having a conversation, also the alumni. And I will also approach you with maybe some small survey that for you with previous questions. How do you like Academy so far? What we can do? And yeah, and I hope you will have a great evening. I'll share some video with you and some interesting books you can read about this. and we will see each other soon. And if you have anything in the meantime, just drop it down into group or share it anywhere you want. And thank you very much. Have a great evening anywhere you are.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.